Okay, this week we're going to continue with our 3D modeling, and this time we're going to expand from a one-part model to this one happens to be a three-part model. We have parts A, B, and C, which is basically just a coat rack. We've got some curves we're going to put on the top of it to cut out. We've got these pegs for the coat hooks, and we've got a shelf that's going to set in. So we've got our front view, an isometric shown here, and we can kind of adjust this as we move along, but basically we're building this with 3/4 inch board and some dowels that we're going to create. So we'll maybe look at creating those a couple different ways. I'm going to open up my MicroStation in a project seed file, and I think just for the sake of getting this moving along, we'll maybe create just a 3D model. Looks like I already have one here. Let me just see if there's anything in that. No. I think I'll just rename this. I'm going to make sure there's... Oh, there is. I think this was one I mistakenly started without. And we're just going to rename this to 3D model. That way we can use it whenever we need to. We'll do a file save. And now we can do a file save as. Our last project was project 7, so we'll call this one project 8. I'm already in the 3D model, so we'll move up to our solids modeling tool first of all, because most of our drawing tools will be right here anyway. And let's draw in the isometric mode like we did previously. So I'm going to change my view to isometric, and let's create some new levels. I'll rename this retainer clip to let's call it part A, back, and then we'll create another new level which will be part B, shelf, and then part C will be peg. Alright, so we'll make the back board our initial drawing, and we'll go take a look at our file. We've got 26 inches long. The overall height from the very top to the very bottom is 9.5 inches. So I actually have a drawing printed out, so if you get a chance to print this out, it might make it easier for you, just if you're doing it on your own. So 26 by 9.5. We'll go back to MicroStation. Sorry. We're going to select our slab tool. We're just going to left click anywhere on the screen here. Well, before I do that, let's just double check. Design file, working units are, this is in meters. Good thing I checked. And let's go to fractions. The smallest fraction I see on here is probably going to be, let's go to a 1/16 of an inch, just to be sure. And we'll say OK. Not sure, just do a file save settings. So I want to make sure I remember that that was in millimeters on my project seed file. I'm going to hit my T key for top. We'll put in the thickness first, just going in this direction, and it's going to be 0.75. Whoops. Not sure what I did there. 0.75. There we go. The length is going to be 26, and the height is going to be 9.5. Do a fit view. So there's the backboard of our object. Now I want to roll this around to a front view. Oops, guess I need a right side view. There we go. So we know we can find the center point. And if we look back here at this, and I've written some notes out here, but we need to draw this curved line. So we're going to attempt to do that first with a Bezier curve or some type of curve. So we got a point we're going to start at up here. If you notice, you go over 5 squares, and each of these is 1 inch. So we go over 5 and down 1 for this point, and then we can go over 3 and down 1 to obtain this point. And then we'll go over 3 and down, say, 1.1. And then we're going to go over 2 and down 0.25. That should give us pretty much this curve. And this is set up so a carpenter can lay a grid pattern out and kind of find these lines. So it's not exact, it's just kind of a design on the top. So we'll go back to MicroStation. And let's select a, let's see, probably, let's try a B-spline by points. We haven't used this, but this will kind of give us a nice smooth line. So we'll start right here in our center. And we're going to go over 5 and down 1. Left click. Then we're going to go over 3 and down 1. Then we're going to go over 3 and down 1.1. And then we're going to go over 2 and down 0.25. Left click. And I'll just extend a line out here and then right click. So that kind of emulates that line. Now if I take my smart line and connect this point all the way across to the center point, hit the enter key to lock it in. And now I can take this and create a shape. We're going to take our, our 6-3, create complex shape. You can do this manually. I'm going to select this, the curve, this piece, and this piece. Left click. And then take our 3-5 tool, mirror. We want to make sure we do it about a vertical axis and click on make copy. It's going to kind of give us a little bit of a peak there, isn't it? That's okay. We'll round that off in a minute. So the next thing we can do is we can boolean those two shapes together in our 2D modeling tools and actually create that as one entire region. If we rotate this back now to an isometric view, we can see our two-dimensional plane and our board, and we're just going to use our T cut solid by curves all the way through. Just left click on the board, left click on the shape, left click again, and it makes that cut. Now if we're looking at this in a rendered, say, an illustration mode, we can see we've got this little peak on the top. I'd probably change that and maybe put a little radius on that. So we'll use our fillet tool, and let's see if we can let's try a 4-inch radius right on that peak and see what that does. That's better. So if we rotate it to a right side view, yeah, you know, that wasn't quite enough. Let's try a 8-inch radius. It's going to make it a little shorter, but that's fine. I think that's better. Look at it in right side view. Much smoother now, so that we've kind of emulated that piece. We'll rotate it back to an isometric, and we need to cut a slot. If we look at our view, we have a 3/4 inch tall by 3/8 inch deep slot that our shelf is going to fit into. I think we may need to make an adjustment where we rounded this top off a little, the top off a little bit more. We may have to extend the board down so it becomes the actual 9.5 inches. So let's go back to our MicroStation. Look at this in a right side view again, and look in wireframe. So I know the distance from here down to the bottom is supposed to be 9.5 inches. And you can see how that extended down below because we rounded this top off just to make it more accurate. Now this is the first time that you'll have used this tool, other than the fact that I may have used it over your shoulder to try to correct something, is your fence tool. we can use this just creating a block, everything on the inside. So I want to create a fence, which is just an invisible line. And what I can use now is a manipulate fence contents, and I want to say I want to stretch it. So I can just take this bottom corner, pull it straight down, hit the enter key, and just lock it to this piece. You see what that did is it stretched that piece down. Now that's one way to do it with a fence and manipulating it within the fence. The other way might be, if I undo that, is just select the object, grab a corner, pull it straight down, hit enter, and then just lock it. And it will do pretty much the same thing. But the fence tool is able to take a specific area and stretch it or copy it or rotate it. So now when we look at the distance using a measuring tool between points from here to here, it's 9.5 inches. So we just made a little adjustment there to kind of make things right. Let's rotate this back to an isometric, and we'll take our W1 tool to place a block. Left and right mouse button, tentative point, hit O, and I need to hit F because we're going to go up a distance of 2 3/4 inches. 2.75. Left click. We know that the distance in is going to be 3/8 of an inch. So I'm just going to key in 3/8. Too lazy to figure out what the decimal equivalent is. Move my mouse straight up, and the height of this is 0.75, 3/4 of an inch. Looks wrong. It is wrong. Don't know why. I hit a divide sign, I guess. Try it again. 2.75. There we go. 3/8. And point. Whoops. Stuck down here in the divide. You got to click over into that box. Now key in 0.75. There we go. That looks better. So now we're going to take that shape, do a cut solid all the way through, this to this, and there's our slot for the board. Now we'll rotate this around to a front view again. Whoops, sorry, keep getting it wrong. Right side view. You know, it'll probably be easier for me to just put this in isometric, and I'm going to rotate this thing 90 degrees. Sometimes you have to make sure your compass is right first. There we go. There we go. Now when I go to a front view, right side, I'm looking at the face of it. So it's a little more oriented correctly now. We're going to take our circle tool and we're going to find the center point, which is right here. We know those holes are going to be up 1 3/8 inch. So I'm just going to left and right mouse button, O, go straight up, 1 space 3/8, 1 3/8 inches. The diameter is 1/2 inch. So we're just going to key in 0.25 or 1/4 inch. And those are going to be spaced 5.5 inches on center. So I just take my copy tool. I'm going to copy this 5.5 and 5.5. Same thing in this direction. 5.5 and 5.5. So those are all centered. We rotate this now to an isometric. What we want to do is cut those holes a distance of 5/8 of an inch deep. So they're not going to go all the way through. Take our cut solid tool. This time we're going to define the depth at 5/8 of an inch. click on the solid. We'll left click on the center one first. You'll see that that is only going to go through part way. We'll check it if we look at this in a illustration mode. You can see the hole in the front. We rotate it around to the back, no hole, so we know it didn't go all the way through. I'll leave it in rendered mode, and now just to show you we can do these in multiple, if I select the solid first and then select the first hole, hold down my control key, I can select multiple shapes. Just let go of the control key, left click again. Now we have the holes drilled all the way through the board. So that almost completes our, we'll go back to an isometric view. The last thing we have is that the bottom corners of this have looks like, I think it's a 2-inch radius. Should be a note on here. I'm looking at the view. We know that this radius is 1/2 inch. This says 2 inches, so I guess probably it is a 2-inch radius. We'll try that and see what it looks like. So we'll take our fillet tool, select our radius at 2 inches, grab this edge, and you notice the first thing I grabbed when I do this, by grabbing this edge, notice that didn't select. If you just keep right clicking, it'll eventually find the edge you're looking for. That's the edge I want. Left click puts that radius on there. Again, just keep right clicking. When I see that little yellow bar show, I can radius that up. Okay. And looks like it's just square edged on the top. So there's our back panel. Now let's change to our part B level shelf. We'll even do a different color. I'll use color 2. And I don't even care what's on. This is just basically a slab, so I'm just going to start it out here somewhere. It's in the front view, so I know that the length of this is the same length as the board, which is 26 inches. The depth is going to be 0.75 or 3/4 of an inch, and the length of this shelf is going to be 4 3/8 inches. 4 space 3/8. If I grab this right by the center point right here and I move it in, I should be able to find that center point and actually lock the shelf in place. We have a 1/2 inch radius at the outside corners, so we're going to take our fillet tool, put in 0.5 for our radius, grab this front edge, didn't select it until I just keep right clicking until it finds that front edge. There it is, left click. So that's all there is really to the shelf. So we can look at this, see that everything's lined up, looks pretty good. So the ability to bring this in and show it all put together, and then when we put our drawings together we can actually separate the pieces out because we're drawing this in separate levels. Okay, last one, a little more difficult, is the peg. And I haven't done this, so this might be a little trial and error. I may show a different way to do it, but we'll try the simple way first. We haven't really gotten into extrusions yet. I'd like to be able to use that, but maybe not just yet. So we'll just do it with some solids to start with and see what we end up with. If we take a cylinder, we know we'll start with the base of this, and I'm going to hit, let's change to a different color so we can see things. I got a cylinder. I know that the diameter of the cylinder that actually goes into the board is going to be a 1/2 inch diameter, and it's down in there 5/8 of an inch. So we'll key in 0.25 for radius. We'll put a length on this. I probably want to give it a little bit of space in the back so that it doesn't, you know, stick out too far. So let's make it only 0.5 inches deep. So that's the peg part that actually goes into the board. Now, we know that the thing is about 3.5 inches long from this point on, or actually about 3 inches. So let's make a cone from this point, and we'll go up a distance of let's say 3/8. So key in 3/16. What am I doing? 3/8. There we go. 3/8 of an inch. We'll bring it out 1.5 inches. Let's go 2 inches. And we'll make this part 3/16. Like that. That's the first part. Okay. Now we're going to do a backwards one. Start at the same point, same tool. Use the same radius to start with. Now we're going to pull out the height. Now we used 2 inches, so we're going to go 1 inch out, and we'll make this 0.25. Now, if we look back at our image, we see that that peg has kind of this shape, and then at the end it's got kind of a button with a flat back on it. Let's try maybe an ellipsoid, and then we'll just flatten the back of it when we're done. So this is kind of an eyeball type thing, but we'll give it a shot. The ellipsoid would be right here. Haven't used this much. And we'll just kind of eyeball this. We want our primary radius to be 3/8. Secondary radius to be 3/8. And then we'll put in we'll try 1/8. Now we rotate this to a front view now. Oops, right side view. Sorry, I flipped it. It's pretty close, but what I want to do is just take a rectangular shape, and I can just eyeball this right across the back end, and I want to cut the solid. This time we're going to go all the way through the object using this as my solid, this is my cutting plane. So it's going to give me that flat back that's going to kind of hold the close on. So with this in place, we'll look at this in isometric now. I want to Boolean all three of these shapes together. This one to this one, hold down the control key to that one, and then we'll go this one to this one. So it's all one piece now. And let's look at it as an illustration. You can see it's a little